Shalom, all praises, blessings, glories, and honors to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha Kodash. Double honors to my elder apostles and bishop elders of Great Millstone who have taught me this truth, as well as men of like mind. Shalom wa chasad, which means peace and mercy, to the elect of the nation of Israel, whom are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and Israelite foreigners of the sealand of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom are scattered here in America, which is Babylon the Great, and abroad. To you I say Shalom, and Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Ratazah. This lesson is edifying and informative. Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 25. Destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3. For when they shall say, peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 26. Mischief shall come upon mischief, and rumor shall be upon rumor. Then shall they seek a vision of the prophet, but the law shall perish from the priest, and counsel from the ancients. In the news from the RT, gas price cap may worsen EU energy crisis. Bloomberg. The measure could increase demand and lead to supply shortages, the outlet reports. A price cap on gas that the EU agreed upon this week may trigger a deeper energy crisis and expose the bloc to supply shortages, Bloomberg reported on Tuesday. The so-called market correction mechanism aimed at protecting EU businesses and households from excessively high gas prices could in reality encourage demand and lead to an even worsened scarcity of gas supplies in Europe. This will especially worsen when China begins to fully reopen their economy. When they begin to fully reopen their country, which will cause an extreme spike in the demand for global energy. The reason to say analysts from Goldman Sachs said in a report, perhaps they had meant to said Goldman on Monday, cited by Bloomberg. A growing demand will put a squeeze on global supply and may force EU authorities to ration gas in the worst case scenario, according to the outlet. EU interventions in the energy sector may also expose the region to stronger competition from Asia. See? As demand in China recovers with the easing of COVID restrictions. So China's rising demand for energy will tighten the global competition for energy demands. Okay? And guess who's ultimately benefiting off of Europe's woes? The US. Because Europe is being forced to buy liquefied natural gas at a much higher spot from the US, as opposed to the cheap amount that they were initially paying to Russia. Economists warn that with the price ceiling on gas, European importers may face problems with securing liquefied natural gas deliveries as supplies will favor Asia if prices there are higher. The EU and Asia are competing for LNG shipments, with prices setting record highs in both markets earlier this year. The intense competition may get even worse as cargoes come from the same exporters such as the US and Qatar, and there you go. So the US is benefiting greatly off of its allies' energy woes. And this is one of the reasons why the beast shall hate the whore, as it is written in Revelation 17. As a matter of fact, let's get that, Lord's willing. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 16. And the 10 horns represents the EU nations, which shall, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Slakia. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast is NATO. And the 10 horns represents the EU. Ultimately, the beast is the pagan Roman Empire, which came back in the form of NATO and the EU, with America being an extension of that empire. These shall hate the whore. The whore is America, Babylon the Great. This entire chapter tells us that. Mystery Babylon. That mystery Babylon is America. And shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. That is a metaphor for how they will shoot nuclear missiles, which, according to Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 25, are the weapons of the Lord's indignation, which is his righteous anger. Over here into America, Babylon the Great, burning her with fire. For the Most High Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, had put in their hearts and their minds to fulfill his will. What is the will of the Most High? Prophecy. And to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which is America. Revelation chapter 11, verse 8, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Now let's continue reading the article. LNG demand in Asia has already increased in recent weeks as buyers are rushing to stock up for late winter supply. On Monday, EU energy ministers agreed to set the price cap on wholesale gas at 180 euros per megawatt hour, which will trigger if the Dutch TTF natural gas futures exceed the limit set for 3 days. The cap will come into force on February the 15th. This concludes the article. In other news, U.S. nuclear fusion is a breakthrough for the chosen. Now, nuclear fusion is one of the leading ingredients in the nuclear explosion, or the nuclear process that leads to the explosion of nuclear warheads. Okay? When we examine an ICBM of today, they are comprised of 2 compartments. The top is the fusion compartment, and the bottom is the fission compartment. Fusion generates far more heat than fission. The atomic bombs of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were only developed with fusion between uranium and plutonium. I believe U-32 and P-35, if my memory serves me correct. But now, after many years of high intense research and scientific development, Esau Edom had developed thermonuclear missiles. And this all began during the period of the Second World War. American scientists have achieved a major nuclear energy milestone, but questions remain about how the technology can be applied. Well, it's obvious that they'll apply it to nuclear technology in regards to nuclear missiles. In fact, the U.S. had recently signed a 1.7 trillion spending bill, with the vast majority of the money going towards the military. I believe about 870 something billion going towards the U.S. military. And really, that's a part of prophecy as far as them taking their money, taking their economic wealth, and putting it towards the research and development and enhancements of their military and weapons of mass destruction, because they're preparing for the third world as well, because the Most High is putting it in their minds to do so, according to Joel, the 3rd chapter. So a lot of things are happening concerning prophecy. Okay, it says the United States Department of Energy announced the last week that on December 5th, scientists at the National Ignition Facility, NIF, or NIF, a complex at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in California, achieved a key advance in nuclear fusion. For over a decade, researchers at this facility have been trying to produce a fusion reaction that generates more energy than it consumes. And they now say they've reached that milestone, which has eluded nuclear scientists for almost 60 years. So the Lord has allowed them to achieve this feat so that they can ultimately forward the advancements of the weapons of his indignation, which are the ICBM nuclear missiles, because the Lord is setting these nations up for the third world war, because we are in a season of war, according to Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, the 8th verse. Okay? And according to Revelation chapter 11, verse 14, the second war is past, and behold, the third will come quickly. So the third will come quickly, and before that happens, the mark of the beast, the C-hip, the C ragamuffin, okay, the RFID market chip, will first be mandated. Okay? Will and must be first mandated globally before the third war happens. Okay? The Lord is not a man that he should lie. And third world's woe will initiate by reason of the least of the flock, drawing America, Babylon the Great out into the Middle East. And who's the least of the flock? The state of Israel. Who runs the state of Israel as we speak? The small hats, who are Edomites of the Edomite tribe of Amalek. Okay, those gutter rats, man. I hate you Amalekites, man. You Edomites. Can't stand you gutter rats, man. It says achieving effective fusion reactions has been the dream of nuclear scientists for decades. It works by fusing elements like hydrogen or helium into heavier elements, creating vast amounts of clean energy in the process. It is the same process that powers the sun and is a vastly superior process to current technology using nuclear fission. See that? Example, splitting atoms rather than fusing them. Because it also produces less nuclear waste. That's been a major roadblock to the further adoption of nuclear fission reactors, along with several high-profile nuclear accidents such as the infamous Chernobyl disaster. Hey, when the Lord said that the elements are going to melt with fervent heat, literally, it will melt with fervent heat. The Energy Department PR team has been touting this development, and rightfully so, because it is increasingly groundbreaking for the future of energy technology. Still, there are some lingering questions about what it actually means. As far as what's being claimed, the DOE says that the adoption of fusion energy could play a key role in combating climate change by producing clean and safe electricity without the attendant greenhouse gas emissions. And that's their excuse, of course. But its widespread usage in the US energy grid is likely decades away. Realistically, without another major breakthrough, fusion won't be a major source of energy until the 26th. Now, Scripture says that his inward thought is that his house shall continue forever. We're going to be in the kingdom way before then, Lord's willing, or 2070s. We can definitely be in the kingdom way before then, Lord's willing. Okay, according to Tony Rollstone, a nuclear engineer at Cambridge University, who spoke to National Public Radio, NPR, because the Most High is moving very swiftly. So these prophecies are popping like popcorn left and right. So at that rate, fusion won't be a major part of the U.S. energy portfolio until after 2050, when the administration of President Joe Biden says the U.S. will achieve net zero greenhouse emissions. Experts widely agree that this goal is crucial, to avoiding the worst possible ramifications of climate change, and that's just been their MO. And while fusion could really expand the probability that this happens, it isn't feasible at this point. Now, this article is pretty lengthy, so I won't read the rest as the point had been made. I'll leave the link in the description box so you can read it for yourselves. But this is just another news update. In other news, the new face of British money unveiled. Yours truly, King Charles the Edomite. Anti-TikTok measure added to U.S. spending bill. EU countries order more Russian oil. So that's pretty much it. That's been another in the news. So now let's get the scriptures again here in Ezekiel and then conclude the lesson. Ezekiel chapter 7, Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 25. Destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. So when destruction comes, people are going to attempt to seek peace, and there shall be none. And when they're going to be promised peace and safety, according to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3, that's when sudden destruction is going to come upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So when a woman, just like a woman that experiences sudden birth pains in the 9th month, when she's pregnant, or even a little bit before that, prematurely in some cases, that's how destruction is going to come upon those that trust in this man's system suddenly. And they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. Mischief shall come upon mischief, and rumor shall be upon rumor. Then shall they seek a vision of the prophet, but the law shall perish from the priests and counsel from the ancients. So your Creflo Dollar, your TD Fakes, okay, your Joel Osteen, your Joyce Myers, all these false prophets, your Farrakhan, your Al Sharptons, all these false prophets and leaders of our people, which cause them to err, will not have the answers for our people when the Lord opens the floodgates of judgments. Okay? So this has been another in the news. Lord's willing, it was edifying and informative. Until the next, Lord's willing, I say shalom to the elect.